Yo, welcome to episode or call number, I think it's 12 of Elevate Mentorship. My name is Joey Wilson. I'm a Chairman 100 here with I Am Mastery Academy, and I am your host of these calls. This is where we bring on some of the top earners, some of the best in the business to help you guys take your life and your business to the next level. And we created this series of Elevate Mentorship. It's a 26-week series leading into Elevate Orlando Convention, which is going to be a big convention for our company, where thousands of people are going to be coming in from all over the world, and it's just a lot of fun. There's recognition, there's training, there's trading, there's new things happening with the company, and it's a weekend packed filled with belief and greatness for everybody to go to the next level. And so this is just a very small picture of what's really going on leading into that. And for me, I've been in this industry of network marketing for over 10 years, and I can just look back for myself. Some of the most pivotal points are when I got on the company calls, and this was back in 2012, 13, 14, 15. It wasn't Zoom calls that we were getting on. It was freeconferencecalling.com, and you type in a code, you type in a phone number, you call in and then say, hey, welcome to freeconferencecalling.com. Type in your PIN, and then you type in the PIN and you get on the company call. And it would be, one of the top people, someone having success at sharing their journey, their ups, their downs, what they're doing to have their breakthroughs and everything like that. And I just remember that there's been so many moments that I'd be sitting in my car on my way to another meeting, and I'd be listening to one of those calls, and just how much it would fire me up to keep going, to keep pushing. And, even myself being, a top earner in the company, I'm just another regular guy. I need to recharge my batteries as well. And that's why we put these calls together, to bring on people that are having success, to bring on people that, have a track record of crushing it. And so I need to hear those stories. I need to hear what's working, what's not out there in the world as well. And so I know for me how much it's helped. And I know, if you guys really plug in and plug your teams in, this will definitely help you guys a lot. And I tell you guys, make sure you have a notebook out, because we got 16 weeks left or whatever it is, and you can be taking notes every week with a different top earner on a page. And then by the time you get to Elevate Orlando, you can have that notebook and you can be taking notes all week. I mean, we all know the reality of you're going to forget 90% of the information that's talked about anyway. So you might as well write it down. If you're here, you might as well write it down so you can remember or look back. Right. And so just a few housekeeping things before we jump into it. Number one, disclaimer: there's no guarantees regarding income, because there might be income talked about on this call. There's no guarantees regarding income. Success or failure depends on your own skill set or personal effort. Basically saying, if you don't do anything, you're not going to make any money. So if we talk about money on this call, I just want to put that disclaimer out there for you guys. And then number two is make sure you're taking notes. And number three is do not let people miss this call or moving forward. Maybe you didn't push that hard this week. Listen, if there's one thing I could go back and do different, is I would have promoted harder. My mentor always told me this. He made $150,000 a month for over 10 years straight. With the money that he invested, he's making over $100,000 a month on top of that outside of the industry. He always told me, Joey, you get paid based off of how well you can sell and promote. You got to promote your team to get on these things, because we have to brainwash these people. You know what? From what we learned in school, we were taught to go to school, get good grades, get a job, and then work that job forever. Kind of simpleton, small mind thinking, and nothing is wrong with those things. But if you really want a great life, a life that almost nobody is able to live, you got to put yourself in positions to win, right? And I believe that this is a position to win. And so even myself, when I came into this industry, I needed some brainwashing. I needed to learn different information, because information changes situations. And I know how much this industry and the mentorship that has came before me has impacted my life. And our goal is just to make an impact here as well. And so again, we're nearing Christmas. These calls should be a lot more packed than they are, but I do appreciate everybody that has hopped on here. Let's get right into it. So this gentleman that I'm going to bring on, in my previous company, I was with one other company for 6 years. In my previous company, we were at a convention in Las Vegas, and one of my buddies, my buddy Austin, he was actually in my wedding. he was another top guy over in that company. He goes, bro, I got this LA Fitness stud. You got to come over here and meet him. And I think it was at the Hard Rock restaurant or hotel. And I said, yeah, cool. Cause I started my journey at LA Fitness. And so I went over there, I met him. I'm like, this is a cool dude. Well, fast forwarding a couple years later, maybe 3-4 years later, whatever it was, I see he's in I Am Mastery Academy and he goes platinum 5,000 in 90 days. You know what I said to myself when I saw that? I'm like, dude, why did I not hit this dude up? Why did I not message? Listen, there's people in your life right now that you haven't reached out to yet that are waiting for an opportunity, that are waiting to hear about this from you. I should have hit this dude up. I'm kicking myself in the ass now because he's an absolute stud. So he's from Indiana. He was running LA Fitness clubs out there. He was in the military. He saw this industry, saw this company, wanted to learn how to trade, wanted to learn that skill set, just like a lot of us did, and wanted to make money from home. He's a father. This dude's an absolute beast, hit platinum 5,000 in 90 days, and then went on to hit chairman 10. He's an entrepreneur. He does more stuff outside of just this right here. And I'm super excited. And we are very fortunate and blessed to have him on this call today, guys. So type fire in the chat, type 333 in the chat for my brother, Drew E. Humphrey. Tag him on your Instagram stories and let's get this thing popping. You're live, brother.
Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everybody? I'm super honored to be here on tonight's call with you guys. If we could, I like the number 7 because 7 is the number for completion. If we could put that in the chat for Joey, we would never take this thing for granted. You know, Joey, myself, 2 imperfect men serving the source, serving somebody that is perfect. So really trying to figure out what that is in this business, trying to figure out what that is in life, to be an imperfect leader and still become so successful to take other people to the promised land. So look, put a 7 if you're returning to this call. You know, we thank you for coming back, and put a 7 if it's your first time on this call. We want to welcome the first time guests on week number 12. There's so many great weeks to come and so many great speakers that will follow. But I know I'm super honored here tonight. And this call is not about me. I don't like to do big intros about myself. This has nothing to do with me. This call has everything to do with you. So I want you to visualize yourself as this call starts to happen tonight. You start to see yourself in a new position. You start to see yourself in a new season. You start to see yourself in a new spotlight, and not me leading this call next time, but you leading this call next time. It's not that I go on stage for chairman speeches, or I go to the retreats, or I hang out above the red ropes. It's me sitting in the back figuring out how to get someone else to that position. So you have to remember, when it comes down to this business, when it comes down to everything you're going to do inside of your life, that you're going to do it last so everyone else can go first. Look, can we put a 7 in the chat if we just agree that on tonight's call, this will be the lowest this call's ever been, right? This will be the lowest this call's ever been. We got to start seeing way past what we're actually doing into the promised land. So he said it a little bit about me. My name is Drew E. Humphrey, Chairman 10 inside of I Am Academy. And no, there is nothing different about me or you on tonight's call. I'm just somebody who has failed a little bit more. I'm somebody that builds faith while my feet still stumble. I'm somebody that is full of humility, full of humbleness. Look, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, but I'm somehow getting it done. Why there's a random song playing in my head all the time, getting me through the day, right? So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I want to dive right into these things because I want to respect your time, right? And I want to bring you something new. That's one of the biggest things you learn about me as a presenter and a speaker. I've spoke over magnitude of states, different countries. Biggest room was over 10,000 people. And I've learned that people want something new, right? As a leader, I want you to challenge yourself over the next season to give something new each time you give a call. Don't repeat something. Don't re-say something that's already been said. Go out there and start creating things that can truly change the dynamic of the people that you're talking to. So I'm honored to lead week 12 of Elevate Mentorship, right? Tonight, we're going to go over actions of faith and why it's so important, but what it takes to build high levels of faith, right? If you take these principles, right, these things have been written for hundreds of years, and you apply it inside of your business, you apply it inside of your family, you apply it inside the way that you think, I promise you can and will see a difference, right? I'm not promising you. He's talked about income. We're not going to talk about we don't even talk about that. I don't know if you know this, but income is the lowest form of success. It just means what you're doing works. But there's so many more important things you have to worry about. And the number one thing over income I like to focus on is character, right? Remember that we're much more concerned about your character than we are your comfort, right? There's nothing worse than building something great without the proper foundation just to watch it crumble back down, right? So we want to make sure the character is intact. And I know by building the actions of faith on tonight's call, you're going to see a huge difference I promise you, by the way you got on this call and from the time that you leave, you're going to think different. So my goal is to simply shift the perspective. So let's get right to it, guys. Why is it this? This is one of the most common errors of our generation, of our time here on earth. Remember, the greatest enemy of our faith is oftentimes our memory. It's our own memory. We stop ourselves from going chairman. We stop ourselves from becoming a seven-figure earner. We stop ourselves from, taking care of loved ones, going back to where it all started and getting our people to a better position. We stop doing certain things because of our memory. Guys, I'm not saying you have to unplug. I'm not saying you have to learn anything new, but what if the process really isn't about becoming? Look, I don't know who needs to hear this, but what if the process is really about unbecoming, doing everything opposite of what you've been told, right? Because if memory is what gets us to where we are, then it's the forgetting that's going to get us to where we need to go. Look, can we put a 7 in the chat if somebody on tonight's call needs to unremember some things and start remembering the right things, right? And we're going to talk about the actions of faith and how to rebuild the mind. Guys, I'm not going to give you something that you're not going to find this in a book. You're not going to listen to this on a podcast. Guys, these are things you're going to have to do. And we're going to talk about why it's so important to get this done before you go to where you're supposed to go. Remember, nothing is accidental. Nothing is accidental. I don't know who needs to hear this, but what's promised for you is already waiting. It's already there. It's already available for you to grab. But remember, as you increase, that gets prepared little by little. So as you increase when the time is right, that just gets handed to you. Look, let tonight be the factor of this one thing and this thing only, that who you become, chairman, is just a bonus. Who you become, big trading account, just a bonus. It's not the end all be all. It's just going to get added into who you already are. So remember, to get to where that is, we have to start letting go of certain things, right? We tend to forget about what we've just been brought through, right? This is one of the biggest things, right? When we're remembering things, we don't want to hang on to everything, but here's how we can use our memory in the right ways, right? Why is it some people on this call, we forget about the relocation, we forget about the restart, we forget about the renewal, and even the revamp on our life. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's put a 7 in the chat if you've actually left the city or state that you were born in and you're currently living somewhere else, right? So we forget about the relocation. We've already been blessed already. We've already graduated out of something. And we're going to talk a little bit more deeper what it means to graduate out of something and go into new works in a new location. Then we're talking about the restart, right? How many of us have already had multiple chances to do something great? And even if we didn't make it, we're still getting restarted for another opportunity, right? Then we're talking about the renewal, right? Being renewed, being revamped, restoration, starting over with the confidence, posture, character, integrity, and great morale to do amazing things. We forget about some of these things. Then let's move into this. We forget about ascending, right? Raising, going to new levels, doing things, changing, becoming the person that we really want to be. Right? We forget about changing attitudes. I got to ask people, because I'm a real transparent person, how many people on tonight's call used to have a bad attitude? You used to be someone that thought negative or assumed the worst type of things in life. But because of this business and because of other great things that platforms like this provide, it's helped you change the way that you really actually see things, right? Then you still have achievements to talk about during the process. If you sign one person up inside of your business, that's an achievement. Do you know that? If you've been ranked, that's an achievement. You've already did more than about 90% of people that flow through the industry. So why is it that we forget about these things? See, our memory can be one of our biggest enemies of our faith, but if we use it in the right format, it can take us to where we're trying to go. And then last but not least, do you remember this? Right? I want you to put a 7 in the chat if you remember this. Do you remember when it was painful for you? At some point in your life, do you remember when you were in pain? Right? And we're going to break all this stuff down because remember, the memory can be the greatest enemy of our faith if we don't use it the right way, right? Do you remember when you were panicky at times? When you freaked out, wasn't sure if this is the right thing to do or if you were going to get to where you needed to go, right? Even when you felt pathetic, right? We got to use these words at what you were trying to accomplish. Like there's just no way, you're the worst person to ever do this. But now all of a sudden in your life, there's peace. Right? We can't forget what we've already been brought through. See, we move promise to promise. We move victory to victory. We move glory to glory when it comes down to this business. And I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but you've been forgetting a little bit too much of what you've already been brought through and where you're trying to go. inside of this business, inside of the next year in 2023. There's already been a lot in your life that's been snapped off. There's already been a lot of chains that have been broken. Now it's time for you to go out there and get the job done. See, you just have to remember the right things when you're moving towards the vision. Look, if you want to be a real person in 2023, it's not about masculinity. It's not about being even a strong woman on the outward appearance. Real people, write this down. Real people rely on God. It's just the truth. I don't care what anybody says. You can't sell me another book. You can't sell me a mentor of mentors. Real people rely on God. Then they eliminate distractions. You can't be distracted when you're moving towards what you've been assigned to do. You have to actively obey. Look, what you're assigned to do might be different than what Joey is assigned to do. What you're assigned to do might be different than what I'm assigned to do. Look, the people you attract inside your business are going to be different than my team versus Joey's team. You're assigned to something a little bit different. And then last but not least, in the word real, you're going to learn how to start looking ahead all the time. Every day you should be focused on where you're trying to go. It should be an obsessive thinking pattern, right? So that's something, if you really want to be real, moving into the next year, you got to write this down. But here's who we are, here's what we do, and here's how we work. So this is where we're really going to get into the meat and potatoes, guys. That's just the warm up, right? But who we are is this. We all carry junk. You have to realize this on this call. That's why our memory can be our biggest defeater in our faith and not get us to where we want to go, because everybody on this call carries junk. Where does that junk come from? It comes from our past life. The decisions we made before we decided to do this opportunity, the decisions we made before certain things in our life that are still haunting us. But remember, it's already been forgiven. I think that's where the saying comes, it's already done. The price has already been paid. The debt has already been removed. Everything that you thought was holding you back has already been broken. The blockades, the roadblocks, the detours, they've already been straightened, for the paths are narrow and you shall walk. So remember this is what we have to do, right? If we are to grow, we have to start getting rid of the junk in our lives. You have to start letting these things go, right? I mean, guys, I know some of this stuff might sound simple, but hey, this is just the truth. One of the most mismanaged things of our time is mismanaged expectations. We can't move into greatness with sorrow. We can't move into greatness with depression. We can't move into greatness with anxiety, and we can't move into greatness being like everybody else. So I'm calling somebody on this call tonight to be a little bit different, to speak a little bit different, to be a little bit more bold, and to stand against some of the norms of this day and age, and to start leading this company into 1,000 chairmen and millions of customers, right? How we work. We're going to talk about this tonight. Getting rid of your junk will happen as you begin to do these things. And I want you guys to write this stuff down, right? Recognize who I am. This is how you get rid of things. You have to start recognizing who you are. You need to write down a list of pros and cons, what you're good at versus what you're bad at. Now, I will say this. Remember, opposition isn't to make you turn around and go the other way. I think somebody on tonight's call needs to hear this. You've been having something come into your life that you've been trying to change. But hey, it was never designed for you to change. That same exact thing you've been trying to change was designed for you to change you. See, it's just like going to the gym. I think I saw Randy hop on tonight's call. Randy, how are you? Randy works out. Very strong guy. You can ask Randy, he probably lifts the same 30-pound dumbbell every time he goes to the gym. So it's not that the weights change, but it's the weights that change him. So understand, when you recognize who you are, when you go through opposition, when you start battling things, those things strengthen you. The goal is to get you to spiritual maturity inside this business, right? If you can mature and know where you're headed and know what needs to be done and know that the mission is complete, you can finish chairman, you can finish trading. But the imbalance in not recognizing who you are is what's holding you back from the other side of success. Now you have to identify why you struggle. What is your biggest fear, right? What is your biggest flaw? What keeps you running, right? There's everything on this call. I know people all the time, especially in today's day and age, they want to do everything that brings them peace, happiness, prosperity, money, blah, 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 blah. That's not a life. Let's just be honest, guys. We have to flip the script. If you're not getting built, what are you really doing? If you're not up against something challenging, that's why they say if you do what's hard, life becomes easy. But if you continuously do what's easy, life becomes hard. Remember, money is not the ultimate object of life. It's about growing character, integrity, morale, family, adopting kids, building schools in Africa, building things, because remember, God can get everything to you, but can he get it through you? He can get everything to you. He can get every dollar you want in the world. He can get every great leader in network marketing to just want to join your business. You can wake up one day and have 80 messages of people that just saw something one day, and overnight you're a sensation. but you have to identify why you go through these slopes, right? The same things that you can't change are designed to change you. Now, remember, the D in rid is a decide to dump the junk. Look, you have to make a decision to step into something new. You have to be the decision makers, right? We say chairman makers, rain makers, right? I call it the rain makers. Why? Guys, there doesn't need to be more fire. There doesn't need to be more energy. There needs to be a lot more soothing amongst the land. So everything is even and equal, and we can all move forward on the same accord. So we need to make a decision to dump everything as we move forward into where we're trying to go. Look, I don't know who needed to hear that tonight, but somebody on tonight's call just got rid of a lot of things. You just got rid of some crazy things that you were wondering. And I don't know who else needs to hear this, but in this business, the intrusive thinking has to stop, right? Some people on tonight's call, you're thinking about this business, and every time you move forward to being successful in this business, a random thought that you didn't even produce pops up in your head and gets you to not do what you were trying to do in the first place. That's an attack, right? Some of you are having weird dreams sometime about this vision. Look, I'm telling you that you have to make sure that you are having dreams of God, right? Many good dreams, few dreams of God. So make sure as you're going to decide to dump the junk, you're going to undergo a certain amount of battles, but we'll talk about that a whole different time. But remember this too as well. As we move more into the meat and potatoes, guys, you can't hear from God in the comfortable place, right? When life is going dandy and everything is fine, you can't hear from God, right? That's why we're always called to be uncomfortable a certain season of our life. John C. Maxwell, one of the best leadership coaches in the world, says that life is uphill. And if life is not going uphill, you are in the wrong place to be. Life has to constantly be a challenge. It has to constantly be a place. What's hard will keep you closer to the source, right? We want to constantly be under challenge. We want to constantly be under pressure. We want to constantly do things that we're not sure if we're going to do them, because when we complete the task, we know who gets the glory, right? We know who gets the glory, right? We're the chairman of chairmans. We're seated in the most kingdomly place that you could possibly think about. We have every rich and every desire that will be met as long as we pass the test. So you have to understand that who you become in the process, this is just added. Chairman 100 is just added. Shout out to Joey. Chairman 10 is just added. Shout out to the other chairman on this call. Big trading accounts are just added because you're becoming who you've been called to become. And remember, as you increase to the right, little by little, I promise you, things will be added at the right time. So let's get down into the meat and potatoes. Look, actions of faith are this. We talked about possible, right? Possible actually means able to be done within the power or capacity of someone or something. So we're going to talk about this tonight. We're going to really peel this onion back. Then actions of faith are painful. You're going to go through a painful season in your life and inside this business, especially. This pain can cause physical pain. Guys, when your brain is changing, it hurts. I promise you, it hurts. When your brain is stretching and rewiring and it's actually learning itself, it's going to change. It's molding. It will cause physical pain. And it also can cause distress or trouble. All right, you're going to go through, when you're building your faith, you're going to go through these things. And then last but not least, we want to get you to progressive. Progressive is happening or developing gradually or in stages, proceeding step by step. It doesn't say chunk by chunk. It says step by step, right? So we want to get you in progressive. So let's nail these things down. Look, number one is possible. The most important thing when we know anything is possible, you have to be you. You have to understand that being you is the highest rank you can ever hit in any company, right? God's not asking you to be God. God's asking you to be you. He's not asking you to do certain things. He's just saying, look, if you be you and you move how I've designed you to move and you be who I've called you to be, chairman will happen. Just be you, right? Be yourself. Be the corny, quirky, like Joey said, when I worked at LA Fitness, I was a certain type of person. I just came inside of network marketing being exactly that person. That's how I had the success that I had. Over 500 personals, P5,000 in 90 days, chairman 10, built organizations, helped found apps. I was just being myself. I wasn't trying to be anybody else, right? Understand your job. We are doing this with God, not for God. I always say this to myself as I build this company. I'm glad that God is deciding to use me, but he doesn't need me. I'm glad that he put me in a chairman's position, but he didn't need to. There's somebody else he could have used because I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it with him. I do everything with him. I pray and petition and give thanksgiving to every piece of my business with God. That's just who I process everything with. I process my life. Before I did this call, I said, Spirit, have your way. Look, there could be 45 people on tonight's call. If one person gets the message, job complete, because that's the job, right? And you got to understand the focus. Stop focusing on what you don't have and start working with what you do have. Look, this is how things become possible. You have to be you. You have to know your job, and you have to understand the focus, right? Focus, we've heard this before. Follow one course until successful. Very true. right? God meets you where your loyalty lies. Every time you start over, so does he. Every time you say I'm going chairman and you put a year's worth of work in, and next thing you know, you stop 6 months, there's that gap. So it's like each time you open up the timeline of something that could have happened this year, but there's too many starts and stops. So we're only met where our loyalty lies in. You have to be loyal to something. You can't be all in over here and all in over there. You have to make a decision. And when you make that decision and getting rid of the junk, and you understand that your memory can work for you versus working against you, you'll understand that when it becomes possible, you can start working with what you have. You don't need to have the nicest camera. You don't need to have a white light while you're doing your Zoom calls. You don't need to have everything. You need an iPhone, and that's about it. And you can, I promise you, make a decent amount of life from the internet. It's just the day and age that we live in. So understand that it's possible. Number two is that it's painful, right? Here's why it's painful. We're going to spend a little bit of time here, if that's okay with you guys. If you're getting value out of tonight's call, put a 7 in the chat. Why? 7 is the number of completion, right? I always want things to be complete. 1 is for divided. I don't know about 2. He says, where fewer or more me, I am in the present. So that means that 7 is the number of completion, right? Security. This is why it becomes painful. I got to be honest with you guys. You can't have idols inside of this business. You can't have other gods than God himself, right? Physical protection for some of us cannot be a God. What do I mean by physical protection, right? I was a man in the military. I thought a gun would save my life all the time because that's what they train you to believe. But that's not really the truth. What's meant for me is meant for me. What's meant for me is meant for me. So guys, I'm saying this, that you have to understand this right here in this business. You can't build this place you want to go, right? The chairman, the trading, from a place of security. You have to be uncomfortable. Why? Because you cannot hear from God in the comfortable place. Sometimes you got to take your shoes off. Sometimes you have to walk on hot ground. Sometimes you have to wonder where the next check is coming from. Sometimes you have to wonder how the bills are going to get paid. Sometimes you have to wonder, can you even afford to go to the event that's about to happen? But you just have to do it because God is a giving God. He wants to know that your faith, belief, and desire is completely into him, and he's going to give what you ask for. He's a giving God. Right? So you can't have security while you're building this. And that for some of us can be extremely painful. Some of us have really good jobs. Nothing wrong with the job, by the way, at all. I think more entrepreneurs should keep jobs until entrepreneurship really takes off to the next level. Ask me how I know, right? But you can't hear from God in the comfortable place. Also, sometimes we have to give up our financial provisions, right? Joey said the military, LA Fitness. I used to work for Stars TV2, made great income, really good income, was around people that were commercials, actors, rappers, singers, international sensations, kids magazines. I mean, I saw crazy numbers, and I myself was making really good money at the age of 21 to 22, working inside Stars TV. But remember, if you give up what provides for you and your family, that's where it becomes painful, but God can now see that he is trusted. He can now see that he is trusted with what you're asking for, right? It's crazy. One of my mentors said one time, he said he had an option to pay his employees or he had an option to pay his bills. He said he did one prayer, decided to pay his employees out. The next day, a $25,000 check showed up for his business. Someone said that God told me to send it. So I understand that in the process, you got to make a decision of faith over everything. You can't have your memory cloud the focus of what God's trying to do in your life. And then also relational connection, right? You have to learn how to, for me, I'm a married man. So I always tell married guys and people working into marriage or people inside this business, look, if you're like me, you kind of grew up inside of I Am Academy, right? I've been doing this thing for quite some time, 5+ years. So relational connections, dude, I became the man I was called to be because of this business. I became the entrepreneur that I am in today's day and age, the business owner, the things that I've built and decided because I've soaked in the mindset from this company. This thing can take you to limitless potential. But at one point in time inside of this business, they talk about going all in. You're going to have to start laying your relationships down and just seeing what grows out of what's already there. Look, I don't know who needs to hear this, but some of us have been planted in our garden from day one, right? We've been in our garden since day one. Now, a lot of us think this, in order for us to conquer in relational connection, we're supposed to leave our garden and go to everybody else's garden. Not the truth. I'm here to rewrite the story. Check this out. If you were planted in your garden, I'm going to give you a real pop question right here. If you work your garden, you plant the seeds, you keep the ground fertile, you keep it moving, you keep doing what you're supposed to do, doesn't the garden grow and eventually have dominion over the world? Versus the person leaves the garden, stops working the soil, the plants stop growing, no fruit is produced, and they're in someone else's garden trying to figure out how theirs is so big. So look, I'm telling you tonight, guys, that in relational connection, some of us have been planted inside the garden that we are needed to be inside of. And because of that, we can lay down everything else and understand that as that garden grows, we can show other people how to build the same thing. I think that's what real leadership comes from sometime, right? It's being a little bit opposite, being the one out of the 99 and deciding to make that difference so life can become progressive for everybody else. And I've heard this many times, but look, one of my greatest mentors shared a story with me when he was at one of his lowest points in life. He was cleaning airport bathrooms. He wasn't an employee at an airport, by the way. He would go there, he'd catch a flight, and he said that one time he heard a voice speak to him and said, clean the bathroom. He decided to clean the bathroom, right? At this point in time, ego kicked in. He's like, I'm not going to clean this bathroom. Why would I clean the bathroom? Blah, 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 blah. But once again, for life to be progressive, you must be willing to do things and leave so someone else can walk in and use it when it's perfectly spotless. That's what leadership is about. For you planting trees, for you cleaning up things, for you building homes that you'll never sleep one night in. I think that's when life really starts to become progressive for chairmen, when it starts to become progressive for entrepreneurs, fathers, mothers on this call, and everybody else who really wants to be in a place of leadership. So you have to be progressive. See, number one is possession and progressive. Things will happen little by little, all of a sudden, once you've increased. I say this all the time. If you just focus on what you've been called to focus on, if you understand your purpose and your true identity in God and Christ, He's going to take you to the next level. There's no point for you running in circles over here when every day you should be sharpening your sword. You should be in books. You should be doing your DMOs every day. You should be sending out your 25 messages. You should be working as hard as you possibly can to understand what it takes over here. Little by little, one day will be handed to you all of a sudden for massive increase. Also, when becoming progressive, you have to have the right perspective. Mismanaged expectations are the greatest issue of our generation. You have to have the right perspective, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to. Right? When you're building this business, if you want to be progressive, you can't have mismanaged expectations. You need to understand what you're after and what are the pros and cons of everything that you are after. And then on top of being progressive, last but not least, things will start to happen at the proper time. All right, I'll give you guys a second to take that in. Things will happen at the proper time, which means you have to realize you are barely getting started, so you cannot get tired. You are barely getting started. Tonight's call is barely getting started. We have barely touched the surface on all the information that we could give to you guys tonight. We have barely did anything tonight. This is the proper time for tonight. Look, I ask myself this all the time. Why tonight? Why on the 12th week? Why today? Because remember, if it's just now happening in the physical, it's already done in the spiritual. So things will happen at the proper time. You have to learn to be progressive and allow the timeline to play its course. But in the meantime, you have to, once again, increase little by little, have the right perspective, and be patient and await this. I always share this story with people as a king, right? In the king's day and age, there were king bearers, cup bearers. There were many types of people that carry the king's crown or would provide the king with drinks. Can you be okay with being number two as you're being progressive? Look, I don't know about you guys, but I have big mentors in my life. When I'm with them, I don't let them buy dinner, right? When I'm with them, they don't touch doors. When I'm with them, I try my best to serve them because I know at the proper time, just like I'm upholding the crown that they've well earned, and I'm serving them during my progression, that one day when it's my time, when the time is right, that God will also send people in my life to uphold my crown. Now, use that as chairman, right? I know that if I can help people get to chairman and put chairman ranks on their name, that when it's time for me to go to the next level in chairman, they will uphold chairman rank on my name, right? So it's all about being progressive with the right perspective and understanding as everything happens little by little, all of a sudden one day, it will seem like it all happened overnight. So this is one of the perks about being progressive, right? But you must lose your current identity and ask yourself, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to, right? Sometimes we're not required to hang on to certain things in our life, right? But I know if it's the vision that you've been given, and if it's the goal that you've written down, if it's the desire that's really buried deep inside of your heart, that you have to lose some of your current identity to understand what it's going to take to become the person who really wants to go to that level, who really wants to go to that desire, who really wants to go the depth into this business. But what if it takes you just letting go of a couple of things over here? What if it takes you just letting go of a couple of things over here that you used to be hanging on to? Remember this, for every morning you are new. For every new morning, you are brand new. We wake up every single day refreshed, renewed, revamped. We're brand new. The only thing that ages over time is the body. The mind has the opportunity to be renewed every single day. The body will decay, but the mind can stay sharp. That's where wisdom comes in, right? You stay wise if you keep growing your mind every single day. They say we get worse with time. I don't believe that. I think we get better over time if we decide to make the decision to grow. But remember, in the process of doing that, it's not about so much of becoming, it's about unbecoming and learning who you've been called to be. Who you've been called to be, right? And we're going to wrap it up with tonight. Like I said, I like to respect time. If people give me 60 minutes, I'll take 30, I'll take 40, right? The only road to influence is paved with sacrifice. I want you guys to really think about this. The only road paved, the only road. There's no other option in this game, guys. There's no other way you guys are going to get the chairman if you don't learn this word called sacrifice. It's not so much about you hitting rank. It's not so much about things happening. It's about what are you doing for other people in this business, right? The only road to chairman is sacrifice. It's just the price that has to be paid. For much given, much is required, right? You have to understand that little by little, you can be increased in one day. So understand that everything done in private does come to the public surface. What are you doing right now for people in your life? And it may not be getting them paid immediately, but like the $100 million man inside of network marketing taught me, he's been on for over 50 years. He said, if you can out-friend everybody and show up for them and let them know that you actually care, you'll win this. He said, it's not about sales, man. He said, I was around when there were newspapers and I had to sign people up and mail it into the corporate office. When they wanted to cancel, I had to mail it back into the corporate office. He said, the difference between me and a lot of people, I've made over $100 million in this industry. He said, it's because I've out-friended everybody in this industry, and I still do to this day. He said, but it came with a lot of sacrifice, a lot of showing up for people when I couldn't show up for myself, a lot of calls when I didn't feel like doing a call, a lot of messaging and catching up and talking about things with their family. How are things going at their job? What things they were interested in, all when I didn't feel like doing it. Can you pay the price? I want you to make a decision tonight as we get rid of the junk and we decide to go ahead and allow new memories to pretty much saturate our mind and start renewing us, that if you really want to be an influential person in 2023, that you are going to live a life of sacrifice. This means that you're going to put other people before yourself, right? I know it kind of goes against the new world and what people say, that you got to, be the most fullest, brightest, happiest, most successful person for people to follow you. I don't really buy that all the time. If that's the case, there's people out here with massive influence who may not be the wealthiest, but they speak a lot of love when they talk. Their intentions are pure and they can move thousands naturally because that's the gift that they carry, right? If you really want to be an influential person, well beyond, like I said, chairman is going to be added to your life. Shout out to Christopher Terry. What he's created is strictly from the kingdom. This is a God business. This is well on its way to 1,000 chairmen and 1 million customers plus, right? 2025, I say it all the time, it really is already done. 2030, the job is complete. Stadiums packed out. United States booming, different countries booming, because it's already been written, guys. It's already in the book of life. IAM's already the biggest company in the future. It's just how it is. There's no other story to tell. But remember, if we all really want to get there as chairman inside of this organization, and we want to be separate from everything else that's going on and all the noise, that we have to live a life of sacrifice. Look, so I want you guys to put a 7 in the chat, man. If you guys got some value on tonight's call, put a 7 in the chat. I'm always going to tell you guys, 7 is the number of completion. You always want to focus on 7. You can do great things in packs of 7, right? Jesus had 12 disciples, right? We'll talk about that a whole nother day, but that's where I learned a lot of my stuff from. I read over 300 personal help books, went to every seminar you possibly could go to, and I had to change my life 3 years back because I had to start learning how to sacrifice, because it's not really about me. It's not really about you. It's about the things that we do now, so generations after generations after generations can follow down this path. We are here paving something that's never been done. We are walking into the future, and it is up to you to get the next generation, right? Generation Alpha, right? Look that up. That's the kids. It's to get them down the path, to make sure that they're not going to struggle and they'll walk in thriving, not just surviving in the new world. We are transitioning in the biggest time in history. And I just know there's a couple special people on tonight's call. All of us are very special, but there's a big calling on your life. And I'm here to assure you that what you've been told is about to come to pass. I know there's going to be next chairmen that pop off this call. I know there's going to be P150s, P600s, P1000s, but I'm telling you, there's going to be a couple. You're going to change the way that this company is done. It's going to change how everything is done because of the mind and the heart that you have. And I have been honored to sit here on tonight's call and pour into everybody and get everybody to where we need to go to re-strengthen ourselves as we close out 2022, walking into a brand new year. Understand the battle is already won. So I have nothing else further to say, guys. Like, if you got value, light up the chat box. Like I said, I love to respect time. If I get 60, I'll only take 45. It's exactly 45 minutes. And until next time, we always say we'll see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. That's not the truth. There's room for everybody. The bottom is not crowded. The top is becoming crowded because that's where we're all going. So I love you guys. And until next time.